Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to start working on drawing bodies. We spent a couple of weeks now on the faces and the heads. I thought they had a lot of details and a lot of elements that maybe you guys haven't learned how to draw before. So we've gotten through that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the bodies. So I'm going to use a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, you can use anything. You can use another piece of paper, whatever you need. And I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. But what I want to do is I kind of want to put one line. I'm holding my paper horizontally long ways. I'm going to put one line across the paper right down the middle. All right. And what I want to do is I can measure out, but I'm just going to make another line down here near the bottom. Just get rid of. Okay. Try to make them parallel. All right. And then what I want to do is I kind of want to put another line on the top, and I want to make sure it looks like they're all sort of equally spaced out. Now you can go ahead and measure these things, all right, if you want to decide to make them 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever it is like that, but you don't have to go crazy with the actual measurements. I just want some straight lines. What I really would like to see is I would like to see that this line is kind of in the center, and these other two lines are sort of pretty close to being the same size. So that's going to be our middle. And I'm going to just put the 1/2. Okay? This up here is going to be the top of our heads. Okay? Down here, this one's going to be our ankles. All right? And what I'm going to show you today is some basic proportions to get started, but they're not going to be full fashion figure proportions. Generally, the fashion figure is very, very long looking. If you're drawing things like dresses and skirts and a lot of times clothes, for the longest time they use fashion models who are, I guess, real skinny to kind of elongate the look, and that was what was in fashion. But the world's changed, people may not have changed, but at least tastes have changed, and there's all different types of bodies that are totally acceptable for fashion figures. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 3 of them, or start to draw 3 of them, and I'm going to break it down step by step for you. And you're going to see once we get past the basics, you can adjust the size and shape of almost any figure to the way we want. So this is not the only way to do it, but we'll call it my way to do it. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to consider this one down the center. I'm just going to throw one line down the center. And you don't have to measure again. We just want one perpendicular line down the center. The first ones we're going to draw these fashion figures looking straight on at us. And I'm going to draw a basic male figure. I'm going to draw a female figure. And then I'm going to draw a curvier figure. And we're not going to do all of them all at once. We'll just start with some of the basic parts. For the one down the center, what I'm going to do is I like to start really with like the core. So, what we're going to have in the middle over here is we're going to have basically the hips. And in this case, the way I'm going to draw the hips for this sort of male figure is I'm going to draw them almost like home plate on a baseball field. Think of it like almost like an upside down house. So you have your little pointed triangles at the bottom and a little square on the top. I like to start with the core. From there, I'm going to try to think about putting in the chest. Now, how big should I make the chest? Well, from here to here, I kind of want to look at about what is halfway. From here to here, try to kind of guesstimate what would be halfway. And you don't have to be exactly right over here. But this is going to be basically the upper part of the chest, like the bottom part of the chest. So what I'm going to do is, for a general male figure, is that I'm going to just draw 2 lines that are kind of flare out just a little bit. So you see they're leaning outwards a little bit, and that's going to work my way towards the shoulders. Next thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to look at the space that I have left over here. I'm going to try to divide that in half. And this little spot that I have left, that's going to be the head. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more to the top of this chest. This is going to be the upper part of the chest, and really where the shoulders connect. So I'm working on the core of my figure over here. For the head, I realize that this is where the head is going to go. Just like we started drawing our heads, I'm going to start with a circle. And I'm going to draw my jawline. Now we can make heads bigger or smaller. I'm just going to go with that. A couple little lines over there. Alright? That's going to be my start for my male figure. And that's all I'm going to do on that one. On this side, what I'm going to do, and I'll put another line straight down. I'm going to set up for a female figure. I'm going to do it in a more traditional fashion figure drawing. It will be a skinnier model, and the legs I'm going to try to make a little bit longer, but I'm going to start off with a lot of the basic shapes, the same ones. So I put his hips, the male hips, right on the halfway line. For the female hips, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them right above that line. So we have the hips a little bit higher, the shorter body, these slightly longer legs. But again, I'm starting off with that sort of V shape for the hips, and I'm going to kind of just make, again, my diamond shape. But you can see my diamond shape is a little bit more like a diamond. This is a little bit more like home plate on a baseball diamond. This is a sort of like a diamond. That's going to be my hips, and you can make it bigger or smaller, but I'm going to start with that. And again, from here to here, I'm going to go look again for that sort of halfway line. That halfway line here, obviously, will be a little bit shorter because I'm putting up the hips a little higher. This is going to be the bust line. It's like for a female chest. Now, since we want her to be a little curvy, we have her hips sort of pinch in a little bit more. I have the same flare out over here. And I'm going to start with the same sort of top of the chest over there. Again, I'm going to use a similar size head. I'm going to draw my circle. Put my little jawline on it. Little lines for the neck. My shoulders will connect in about the same area. And that'll be the start for my female figure. I got a male, female, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slightly curvier figure. And again, there is no right or wrong way to draw the fashion figures. What I want to do with this exercise is really just give us an opportunity to just learn some of the basics. Once again, I'm going to keep the legs kind of long, but in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make something that looks like a little bit more of a rounder form. So I give her a little bit bigger start as far as the hips go. And you can adjust those sizes however you feel. But what you want to do is you want to try to make sure that you're drawing these symmetrical. And one of the reasons I put these lines down the center is sort of to help me draw them symmetrically. And that'll be the start of my hips. And then again, I'm going to use the same line here for the bust. But for the bust, I'm going to just use a little bit more of a rounded form. And I'm going to try to keep it about the same on both sides. This will be what will end up becoming our sort of hourglass figure, classic hourglass figure. Once again, I'll use the same sort of line and area and space for the head. I'll go with a circle up top, and I'll finish with my jawline, a little bit of the neck. Again, shoulders would connect right over there, which is on that top half over there. And really, those will be my three starts. Arms and legs, I want to spend a little bit more time on. I want to kind of, I guess, really kind of go into the nuances of the shapes themselves, because I feel most of the time when I do these exercises, people sort of screw up the arms and legs. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to start on a piece of paper like this and start with our three bodies. We're going to do a classic sort of male, classic sort of female fashion figure, and a slightly curvier, fuller figure for our last one. So they don't have to be exactly this scale, but again, and you don't have to measure anything, but what I want you to think is when you divide your paper long ways like this, at about the halfway point, this is going to be, for the male figures, we're going to be where the hips connect, and you're going to see the hips just go right across that line. For the two female forms, the hips are going to be right on top of that line, so it'll be a slightly more compact upper body. We'll do the rest of the legs and the arms in a second demo. That's about 10 minutes now, so I feel like I'd like to give you the remainder of the period. For those of you who are ready to do this, to start this, I'm going to post an assignment which is going to be called starting the bodies, the torso, and the torso is the hips, chest, head, sort of the sort of core of the body. So I'd like you guys to work on that first part. We'll submit a photograph of that. If I think you need to make corrections to it, I'll give you guys feedback. And then maybe tomorrow, if not Friday, I'll start working on arms and legs for you guys.